When we watch curling on TV, we see that the hammer is a big advantage. Teams with the hammer control the game, and most of the bigger ends scored come from the team throwing the last shot. However, many newer skips struggle to get the most out of their hammer ends. If you feel like you're not doing well enough when you have last rock, here are 5 tips for playing with the hammer. Number 1. Use the whole house. When we have the hammer, we want the scoring area to be as large as possible so that we can score most or even all of our rocks in the house. That means we should be playing away from the center when we have the opportunity to do so. That doesn't mean you'll never be throwing to the center, of course. While you shouldn't intentionally take the action to the forefoot when you have the hammer, the other team has something to say about that, and even a single center guard can be enough to prompt you to throw around it. But you should still be looking for opportunities to play to the wings, and if your opponents don't get anything started in the center, play as far away from the button as you can. In addition, keeping your rocks spread out across the sheet like this means there will be less opportunities for doubles or easy hit and rolls that can help the non-hammer team get out of trouble. Use the whole house, and you'll find a lot more success with the hammer. Number 2, fear the big center. When we have the hammer, we don't really have much to fear from the other team's biters in the corner or rocks hanging on in the back 12. In fact, there's only one thing we have to truly worry about. The non-hammer team building a big center, where they get one or more rocks in or near the forefoot and successfully guard them. If your opponents are already buried in the forefoot, it's probably time to peel the center guard to stop the situation from getting any worse. With any luck, they'll eventually miss a shot, and you can go after the rock they were trying to steal with. Even if that never happens, you've at least limited their ability to build an even bigger steal. Sure, there are times when you're behind late when you have to ignore the center in order to try and build a big end, but for the most part, it's best to deal with these center rocks before they get out of control. Number 3, leave yourself a shot. As a skip, you always want at least one way, and preferably 2, to get at least 1 point with the hammer. That usually means having draw paths to the button or the forefoot as we get later in the end. If things have gone really badly, it means having at least a couple ways to limit just how many points our opponents can steal from us. The reason we want 2 ways to accomplish these goals is that it makes it impossible for the non-hammer team to take away all of our opportunities with their last rock. If you're late in the end and a big end or a blank doesn't seem likely, you might want to focus on making sure you'll have a makeable shot on your last by keeping lines open and clearing out anything that prevents you from making that great draw with the hammer. Number 4, don't always guard your shot rock. One mistake that many new skips make is consistently guarding their shot rock when it is open. When the non-hammer team is trying to steal and gets a rock in the forefoot, this is absolutely the right way to play. However, for the hammer team, this is usually unnecessary and sometimes even counterproductive. In most cases, you'll be better off putting a second rock in the house, preferably far away from the first one, rather than trying to guard a single rock with hammer, especially if that rock is anywhere near the center line. Unlike when you're trying to steal, you don't need the perfect stone near the button to score with the hammer. If the non-hammer team hits your rock, you always have the opportunity to hit right back. Instead, getting more rocks in position to score on the wings is the best way to build an end. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Sometimes, the best guard is sitting second shot. Provided the other team can't double both of them, of course. Number 5, be patient when you're setting up ends. When you're playing with hammer, you have a little more leeway to take your time and ignore what your opponent is doing while you try to build an end. That means that unless there's something critical you need to deal with right away, it's often better to focus on achieving your goals than hitting the non-hammer team's counter just because you want to be sitting shot right now. This often happens when you've thrown a corner guard and the other team has put up a mediocre counting rock. Let's say something biting the 8 foot a couple feet off the center line. Those sorts of rocks aren't likely to be the difference makers in the end, especially when you're still on lead or second rocks. It's safe to just go around your guard, even if you're not counting yet. You'll have plenty of time to deal with the counter later on, at which point the extra work you put in earlier to set up the end will really pay off. There you have it, 5 tips for playing with the hammer. Do you have any tips you'd like to give fellow skips when playing with Last Rock? Leave a comment below to let everyone know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with your fellow curlers. Thanks again for watching, and good curling!